I wasn't supposed to be home that afternoon. My last class had been canceled, and the bus dropped me off earlier than usual. The house was quiet except for a faint murmur upstairs. My mom's voice, echoing through speakerphone. A stack of unopened mail sat on the kitchen counter. Sunlight spilled in through the blinds, bright but cold, cutting long stripes across the tile. I tossed my bag onto a chair and went to pour water, already thinking I'd head out again before she even knew I was here. Then I heard the click of the front door closing and heels crossing the hallway. Slow, confident steps. I turned just as she appeared in the doorway. Veronica, my mom's friend. 40, maybe a little more. Slim in a beige coat that still held the smell of outside air. She paused when she saw me, as if running a calculation, and then her expression smoothed into a faint, knowing smile. "You're home early," she said, her voice low, almost private. She stepped inside the kitchen, the soft perfume she always wore reaching me before she did. She didn't ask where my mom was. She already knew. She went straight to the fridge, opened it, reached for a bottle of water. The door swung shut, sealing us off from the hallway, and she stayed standing there with the bottle in her hand. I tried to make it casual. "She's upstairs, right? On the phone." Veronica twisted the cap, took a slow sip, then shut the fridge door with a deliberate push. The sound was sharper than it needed to be. She turned toward me and said, almost in a whisper but with no hesitation, "I didn't come for your mom." Something jolted in my chest. For a second I thought I'd misheard. Her eyes didn't flinch. She walked past me, brushing my shoulder lightly, and set the bottle down on the counter as if she owned the place. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to sound neutral. She smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "Let's not pretend we don't notice things. She thinks I'm here to talk about that job opening. That's not why I came." She picked up a glass from the rack, held it up to the light, and then lowered her voice even more. "We don't tell her about this. Not now. Not later. Understand?" It was a clear rule, delivered like a line drawn across the floor. For a heartbeat I thought about leaving, about heading out to the gym like I'd planned. But her eyes held me in place, daring me to answer. Upstairs, my mom's voice rose in a laugh at something on speakerphone, the sound echoing down the stairwell. Footsteps crossed the hall above us. Veronica glanced up at the ceiling, then back at me, a flicker of mischief in her eyes. "She won't be down for a while," she murmured. "We've got a few minutes." I shifted my weight, reaching for my keys on the counter. "I should probably go," I said, though it came out weaker than I intended. Veronica moved, not quickly but decisively, stepping between me and the doorway. The soft fabric of her coat brushed my arm. Her smile was faint but challenging. "Don't rush off," she said, "unless you're afraid to talk to me." Upstairs, a door creaked. My mom's footsteps stopped, then started again. My pulse kicked harder. Veronica's eyes didn't leave mine. For a long second, neither of us spoke. The house felt smaller, the kitchen air heavier. My hand tightened on my keys, but I didn't move toward the door. She tilted her head slightly, waiting, and then I did the only thing that felt possible. I set my keys back down on the counter. "I guess I can stay a little longer," I said. Her smile deepened just enough to show she'd won something. The living room had changed since earlier. The light had shifted into that soft, golden hour glow, filling the space with a warm haze. The TV was still on, muted, flickering with some reality show no one was watching. Outside, birds moved in the trees. Inside, it was quiet, too quiet. Veronica was on the couch, legs crossed, coat off now. She wore a dark green sweater that clung to her in a way that made me aware of every movement she made. Her heels were gone too, barefoot with red polish on her toes. She looked too comfortable in this house. I thought you left, she said when I passed through the room on my way upstairs. I forgot my charger, I lied. I had it in my bag. But something about the way she said it, flat, amused, unbothered, pulled me back in. She patted the cushion beside her. You can sit. It's not illegal. I hesitated, then sat down. Not too close, but close enough to feel the warmth between us. The silence pressed in again. She didn't look at me right away. Her eyes were fixed on something on the table. I followed her gaze. It was a small leather bracelet, worn but intact. I'd made it years ago in some pointless summer camp craft class and given it to my mom. It had been on her nightstand forever. I hadn't seen it in months. Veronica picked it up carefully like it might break, rolled it between her fingers. You made this, didn't you? She asked. I nodded. She smiled to herself. You have good hands. I looked at her, unsure if she meant it the way it sounded. She didn't elaborate. She just kept turning the bracelet slowly, like she was testing its weight, its memory. How long have you known my mom? I asked, trying to shake the weird static off me. Since college, she said. Before she met your dad. Before I got married. She paused. Long before either of us got good at pretending. Her voice was steady, but there was something heavy under it. Regret, maybe, or exhaustion. She set the bracelet back down exactly where it had been. You haven't changed much, she added after a moment. But you see more now. You watch people. You don't talk as much as you used to. I looked at her, really looked. Neither do you. She turned her head then, fully facing me. And for a moment we just sat there, eyes locked, the room narrowing until it felt like a private stage. And then came the sound. Footsteps upstairs. My mom's voice, slightly muffled but moving. The boards creaked the way they always did by the hallway mirror. I flinched. Veronica didn't. She's coming down, I said, already starting to move. She's not, Veronica said, calm. She's just getting something from the bedroom. Then softer. You really think I'd be sitting here if she was about to walk in? I didn't answer. I just stayed still, listening. The footsteps moved away again, and a door closed upstairs. The tension didn't. Veronica leaned back into the couch. Her knee brushed mine. She didn't move it away. Neither did I. I should go, I said after a beat, but I didn't sound convinced. Do you want to? She asked, her voice smooth. Or do you think you should? I looked down, at the floor, at her bare foot resting inches from mine, at the bracelet on the table. The silence was louder than any reply I could give. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. She picked it up, checked it. My ex, she said flatly. He still calls when he's lonely or drunk. Sometimes both. She tossed the phone face down. Then she leaned a little closer. Some people don't let go of things when they should, she said. Others walk away too fast. Our faces were close now. Too close. I saw the light catch in her eyes, the way her lips parted slightly. My hand moved, almost without permission. I reached for the bracelet, fingers brushing hers. She didn't pull away. Her nails touched my skin. And then another noise, a loud creak from the stairs. Both of us froze. This time it was my mom. Her voice called down, Veronica? You still here? Veronica's hand left mine. She straightened, reached for the remote, unmuted the TV, turned toward the screen like nothing had happened. Down here, she called, casual and breezy. Just watching this terrible show of yours. My mom laughed. Be down in a minute. The moment shattered like thin glass. I got up, trying to look normal, trying to breathe. Veronica didn't look at me, but just before I left the room, she reached behind a cushion and pulled out a note card. folded it once and tucked it under the bracelet on the table, pressed it down with one finger. When she looked up at me again, her smile was slow and unspoken. "It's a nice bracelet," she said. "You should take better care of where you leave things." Then my mom's footsteps started coming down. I backed toward the hallway, heart still pounding. And as I walked away, I looked back once. The card was still there, waiting. I waited until the house was quiet again. Mom had gone out for groceries, a quick trip, she said, 30 minutes at most. I heard the car pull away, waited another 5 just to be sure, then came back downstairs. The bracelet was still there on the living room table, exactly where she'd left it. But the card underneath it, that folded square of white, that was what made my pulse kick up again. I picked it up slowly, half expecting it to be blank. But on the inside, written in smooth, confident handwriting, "Upstairs, quietly." No name, no explanation, just a location and a command. I stood there for a long second, holding the card like it was some kind of test. Then I tucked it into my back pocket and climbed the stairs, one step at a time, avoiding the boards I knew would creak. The door to the guest room was open just enough. I knocked once, softly. Her voice came from inside, calm and clear. "Come in." I stepped in. Veronica was seated at the edge of the bed, back straight, coat draped over the chair in the corner. The window was cracked, letting in the late afternoon air. A breeze stirred the curtain. She had her hair pulled back loosely, no makeup now, and somehow that made her look even more composed. She didn't stand. She just patted the spot beside her on the bed. "I figured you'd come," she said. "Eventually." "I almost didn't," I admitted, staying near the door. "But you did." Her eyes were on me now. "That's what matters." I walked farther in, but didn't sit. "Why did you leave that note?" "You're not a kid," she said. "I didn't come to play guessing games." She looked down at her hands for a moment, then picked up something from the nightstand, a small photo frame. She turned it toward me. The picture was years old, my mom, Veronica, and me. I couldn't have been older than 16. We were at the lake. I was in a hoodie too big for me, and Veronica had her arm around my shoulder. I remembered that day, but vaguely. She traced the edge of the frame with one finger. "You looked at me different, even back then. You didn't realize it yet. But I did." I didn't know what to say to that. I just stood there while she set the photo back down. She looked tired, but not fragile. More like someone who'd made a decision and was ready to live with it. "You're making this dangerous," I said quietly. She nodded. "I know." I finally sat beside her. The bed creaked. Neither of us moved away. She glanced down at my pocket. "You brought the card?" I pulled it out and held it between us. "Is this your idea of subtle?" "No," she said. "It's my idea of honest." I looked at the card, then at her. "Why now?" Her answer was barely above a whisper. "Because I'm tired of pretending I don't see you." That was the first real confession, no teasing, no deflection. It wasn't loud, but it hit louder than anything else. I didn't respond with words. Instead, I placed the bracelet, the one I'd brought upstairs with me, on the bed between us. Her fingers brushed mine as she picked it up again. "This started as a secret," she said, rolling it slowly between her palms. "But secrets aren't supposed to feel this alive." I should have stood. I should have left. But instead I leaned in just slightly. She mirrored the movement until we were inches apart. And then the sound. The unmistakable slam of the front door downstairs. We froze. Mom's voice, closer than expected. "Veronica?" "I forgot my wallet." Veronica's face went pale. "Closet," she whispered sharply. I stood backing away, pulse hammering. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the closet. I slipped inside just as she opened the bedroom door with a practiced calm. From the darkness, I heard them talking. Veronica saying she was just lying down. Mom apologizing for the interruption. The sound of heels crossing the hallway. A drawer opening. Then silence again. I held my breath. After a minute, the door closed. I stayed still, listening. The house settled. Finally, the closet door opened. Veronica stood there, her eyes scanning me, then softening. "That was too close," she murmured. I nodded. She stepped aside. I came out slowly, heart still racing. We didn't speak for a moment. Then she looked at the bracelet, still lying on the bed. She picked it up, placed it in my palm, and closed my fingers around it. "It's not just a symbol anymore," she said. "It's a promise." I opened my hand again. The bracelet felt warmer now, realer. "What happens next?" I asked. Veronica walked to the desk, pulled out a blank piece of paper, and scribbled something on it. She handed it to me. "Tomorrow, same time." Then underneath it, "Just you and me." The paper smelled faintly of her perfume, and the room didn't feel like a guest room anymore. Felt like a decision. The next day dragged like wet cloth. Everything I did felt heavier, walking, answering messages, even breathing. My phone lit up every hour with texts from friends, one from my mom, one from my brother asking if I was still coming to the dinner that night. I didn't answer any of them. By 3 p.m., I turned my phone off completely. That was the first lie, or maybe the first choice. At 4:17 p.m., I was back at the house. Not mine, hers. Technically still my mom's friend, but the word friend felt too light now, too safe. I walked up the steps slowly. She had left the back door unlocked, just like the note had promised. I stepped inside. The house was silent, warm. The hallway smelled like vanilla and dryer sheets. Veronica was in the kitchen, barefoot again, in a soft gray t-shirt and jeans. No earrings, no lipstick. She looked younger somehow, and older too. More like someone without armor. She didn't say hi, just nodded toward the table where 2 mugs of tea were already waiting. "You turned off your phone," she said. "Didn't want to be interrupted." She gave a soft smile. "That's a sacrifice. You had plans tonight." "I canceled." "Your mom called me this morning," she added. "Wanted to know if I was free for dinner later." I told her I had errands. We sat across from each other, hands wrapped around the mugs, but neither of us drinking. The air between us was thinner than yesterday. Not colder, just stripped of pretense. "I used to come here with my ex," she said quietly. "Before the divorce. He liked your dad. Said he was too good for your mom." She looked at me, then looked away quickly. "That was one of the first signs I should have left him." I waited. She continued. "We were already done even then, but we kept pretending. For the house, the neighbors, the holidays. For appearances." She took a slow breath. "The longer I stayed, the lonelier I got. And no one noticed." I didn't interrupt. She needed to say it. Veronica's fingers brushed the edge of the bracelet again. I'd brought it back, set it between us like a silent acknowledgement. She tapped it once. That's what this was yesterday. Me not pretending anymore. We sat in that silence for a long time, until she finally leaned back, letting her eyes close. Then came the knock. Sharp, twice, on the front door. We both flinched. Veronica stood quickly, peered through the window beside the door. "It's Lydia," she hissed. I knew the name, my mom's other close friend. Talkative, observant, the kind of person who smiled like she was always writing a mental note. Veronica didn't open the door right away. She turned to me instead. "Stay here. Don't make a sound." She stepped out of the kitchen and into the hallway. I heard the door open, light voices. "Lydia." I was just driving by. Thought I saw your car. You weren't at lunch today. Veronica. Had errands. Just got back. Sorry I missed it. Lydia again, lower now. Funny. I thought I saw someone go in the back a minute ago. That sentence froze everything. I could hear the edge in her voice. Not casual. Curious. Sharp. Veronica answered with something I couldn't make out. Her tone cool but slightly higher pitched. Lydia stayed a few minutes more. Then left. When Veronica came back into the kitchen, she didn't speak right away. Just closed the back door, then leaned against it, exhaling slowly. She saw you, she said. Maybe not your face, but someone. I nodded. So what now? Her hands went to her temples. She'll tell your mom. Or hint. That's what Lydia does. She packages gossip in little sugar-coated comments and lets other people unwrap them. We can stop, I said. But it didn't sound like a solution. Not even to me. Veronica walked over to me slowly, sat beside me, reached for my hand. I don't want to stop, she said. That's the problem. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch beyond her hand on mine. But that moment was more honest than anything we'd done. Outside, wind picked up. The sky was darkening earlier than usual. She stood up, crossed the room, opened a drawer and pulled out something small, a key. She pressed it into my palm. My sister's place. It's empty during the week. She's out of town until next weekend. I looked at the key, silver and simple, attached to a plain black loop. Tomorrow, she said, 5 o'clock, if you still want this. We stood in silence, the key heavy between us. Despite everything, the risk, the friend who saw too much, the dinner I was missing, I nodded. I'll be there. She smiled, but there was sadness in it this time, like she knew this wouldn't end clean. I'll text your mom later, she said. Tell her I didn't see you today. I turned toward the door. Just before I left, she touched my arm. Don't bring the bracelet next time, she said. I want something new. The key felt cold in my pocket the whole ride over. I kept checking it like it might vanish if I looked away too long. Her sister's place was in a quieter neighborhood. 2 stories, brick, with white trim and hedges cut too precisely. It didn't feel like a place for risks. It felt like a place where no one raised their voice. I got there at 4:58, waited in the car until 5:01, then went to the door and used the key. The inside smelled faintly of books and citrus. Everything was neat. No dishes in the sink. No sounds. Just stillness. She was upstairs. I found her in the guest bedroom. Lights low, curtains drawn halfway. She stood near the window, arms crossed, wearing a long black sweater and jeans. Her hair was tied up loosely again. No jewelry. No distractions. You came, she said. I nodded. You knew I would. She smiled without showing teeth. No, I hoped. That's different. We didn't talk after that. Words weren't what either of us needed. She stepped forward. I met her halfway. The kiss was soft. Then it wasn't. We didn't speak as we undressed. We didn't make noise. It was quiet, except for our breathing, the brush of fabric, the shift of weight. It wasn't rushed, but it wasn't slow either. It was real, like we were finally using the language we'd been avoiding. And when it was over, we didn't move. We lay there, tangled under the thin gray blanket, listening to the distant hum of the fridge downstairs. She turned her head toward me. This can't keep happening, she whispered. I know, but I want it to. I didn't answer. That was the answer. We didn't say the word relationship. We didn't plan the next week. But we did agree on one thing. It stays between us. Not because it was shameful, but because it was ours. Some secrets are meant to be shared, just not with everyone. She walked me to the door as the sky turned pink behind the trees. Her fingers brushed mine before she let go. I was back in my room, pretending to study when my mom knocked once and said, "Veronica's here for a minute," said she left something last time. I didn't move, just listened. I heard her steps, the calm tone of her voice, heard my mom offering her tea, heard her say, "I can't stay." The front door closed. 30 seconds later, a soft knock. My bedroom door opened an inch, just enough for her hand to slip through. No words. She dropped something on my desk and was gone. I waited until I heard the car drive away. It was a folded sheet of paper. Inside, a blank note card. Except this time, there were no instructions. Just the bracelet. And beneath it, in her writing, "You can bring this back now."